We are back at it again. After a whole year, you never thought you would see another GT3 RS in my garage. Well, you thought wrong, because I love money more than I love cars. And here we are with the latest acquisition to the investment collection, and you might soon be wondering why, because I'm going to make $100,000 on this car. This is my latest arrival, a 2024 PTS NATO Olive GT3 RS YSOC with mag wheels in gold, and it looks gloriously good, minus all that crappy plastic they never really fixed. But it looks a lot better in this color than it did in Arctic Gray. So here we are today, and today we're going to be driving this car and really talking about, has my view changed on the car 1 year later? I have called the GT3 RS one of the worst pieces of shit cars ever built for the money. We're gonna go and take a look at, do I still feel the same after having driven many cars in between and having given up my last one? This one also has headers and exhaust, and so it's gonna make it an interesting drive to really determine how much we either still love the GT3 RS or completely hate it. You ready? Let's go. You know, so it's been a month since I've gotten my second GT3 RS. And you guys know for a fact that I absolutely hated this car the first time around. I mean, everything from the cheap interior quality to the plastic all on the exterior, to even the fact that when I first got the car, it didn't really want to adhere to any header or exhaust systems, and it just constantly created a mess. But here we are again, a year later, a brand new GT3 RS, PTS this time. It has exhaust and headers. It's absolutely beautiful on the outside. It's still full of plastic, like the piece of shit they are, but the interior's better, and honestly, the color's much better than the last Arctic Gray car. So seeing that this is a PTS car, we're not gonna comment necessarily on comparing the car's, what you would say, colors to the last time, because it wouldn't be fair. This is a better spec than my last GT3 RS. But here I am a second time giving the car a shot at being a cool car or not. Now, there's many people who call this the best sounding car of all time once it has headers and exhaust. And to those people I say, you're too poor to know the sound of a good sounding car, so you think this is a good sounding car. Truly isn't. It would be the same as trying to compare a Tesla to a basic Lamborghini. It just doesn't work. Like, we know you're gay. But anyways, we're not going there. This isn't a Tesla video. This is a GT3 RS video. So, but any opportunity we get to remind Tesla people or Apple Watch people that they're gay, we take that. Now, what you should realize about the GT3 RS is that it really, and I said this in my first review, and it hasn't changed. I mean, it is the same car after all, but it really struggles to be in the right gear if you're not in manual. Like, it really struggles, especially in sport mode. You go to sport mode to drive it on the street, get some sound, exciting car, but then it really struggles in low gear to find its footing, to how to be in the right gear. It just does not know what to do, and it's very annoying. And this is the one thing we talked about in the GTD versus GT3 RS video. The GTD's transmission is spectacular. Like the buttons are shit and the feeling's shit, but the transmission's always in the right RPM and gear ratio, no matter you're driving on the street or super fast or super slow, it just gets it. This car just, in my opinion, does not get it unless you're in manual. So that is the one part about this car that just drives me fucking nuts every fucking time I drive one, is that. Now, the sound's pretty decent. It's just not bad. Once you put a headers and exhaust on it at full RPMs, it is a pretty exciting car, generally speaking. But it's not the best sounding car by far out of anything else out there. And you know, one of the dramatic changes that have come for me with this car is that I always say you can't really review a car if you just drive it a little bit. You got to spend some time with it. So I had my first car for quite some time, and then my second car here, my second GT3 RS, I decided to spend a month with it before doing this review as a, how do I feel about it a year later, like, and actually with a month of driving. And the answer is that I feel better about it. I don't think it's as big of a piece of shit as my first one. Maybe I had one of the earlier cars, it wasn't that good of a car. But this particular car isn't a total piece of shit, but it's also not that fantastic, especially seeing that now prices for PTS cars are in the fives, and it doesn't always make sense. So you know, 500K, what else can you buy? Well, in today's space, you could buy a Huracan, you could buy a 720S Spider, you can buy a lot of cars that are equally capable. Maybe they're not exactly capable, but let's face it, how many of you guys are actually track warriors, like going on the track with your cars? Very few. So for those of us that are not, like me, who are pussy drivers, and I know you guys are too, just don't pretend you're not. But, you know, if you genuinely think about this, like, it's just, we drive these cars to have fun. We don't drive them, like, on racetracks every day. We're not trying to win a championship. And the fun factor has to be there. And I feel like this car really struggles with that balance between street and track. Like, I get why it works flawlessly on the track. I just don't understand how it works on the street. And for that reason, I don't know that I'm sold on the car as a whole. I'm just sold that it's a better car than it was a year ago to me. And I am appreciating its interior more despite the lower craftsmanship quality than the Sport Classic or other cars in the 300K range from Porsche themselves. But the one thing about this particular car, I think that it just doesn't work is it just doesn't work on the street. It works quite well on a track. It does not work on the street. And, you know, the interior, like I said, is much better quality than I remember it to be, comparing it to cars like the GTD, but then comparing it to its own competitors inside the line, Sport Classic, 911 Touring ST, etc. I just don't buy the interior on the GT3 RS either for the price, since you can get the same interior better for less money with some of these other cars that are also 300K range cars from the same manufacturer, built on the same 911 platform. So I don't necessarily get that. I don't see why one gets less. Now, someone would argue, is Alcantara on the dash genuinely like way lighter than like some other material? Like, does it really fucking matter? Like, you guys can't be that stuck on that whole like that 2 kilogram is gonna now be like the life-saving thing that makes you win a race. So, you know, I'm not buying that necessarily. And, you know, like, you get what I'm saying, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, it's like the guy, like if you're fat sitting in the car, well, that's the 2 kilograms right there. Why the fuck are you, like, worried about the dashboard, you know? Doesn't make any sense anyways. But, you know, I think that this car is one of these cars that I think is a lot of car for the money in the Dries. I just don't think it's a lot of car for the money once you start factoring in the adjusted, you know, market adjustment, like the ADM being like 100K over, 200K over. I just don't see it. I know they're saying it's the last naturally aspirated GT3 because the next 992.2 GT3 is going to be, GT3 RS I should say, is going to be turboed, and then the 992 GT2 RS is going to be turbo and hybrid. I don't know that that matters, honestly. Like, you know, for years we've said, well, turbo cars aren't the same as naturally aspirated cars. And then we just never really, like, did anything with that, if you think about it, because, like, they are, and they're, like, still in the same boat, and they're just equally good. So it's not really an issue, per se. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not like it matters if something is hybrid, because it's not like it's electric. We know electric cars on it, but I don't necessarily think that hybrid cars are a bad thing. Like, the Revolta's a great fucking car. The 918, the P1, they're good cars, and the hybrid system, even though they were older in those cars, do not make them bad cars or less desirable. I mean, 918s are the same price as Courier GTs. I'm not arguing that, like, Courier GTs aren't cool with a V10, but I'm simply saying that, like, that argument falls flat based on historical data. So, you know, do I think the GT3 RS is worth buying at this point? Well, prices are quite high now. The whole market's on fire, like COVID 2.0, but the question becomes, do they keep going past, like, the 550 range? I don't know. I don't really think so. I think these cars are ultimately sub 400K cars, and that's where they're gonna end up, regardless of the popularity they're having at this moment. So that said, you know, I'll leave it up to you guys to decide if the GT3 RS really is worth the money or not to you personally. But to me, I think it's a cool car. I bought it from an investment standpoint to make some money on it. I've enjoyed driving it a little bit. It's a lot better than my first one, but I'm still not sold that if I had a choice between all the cars I have, this is still the car I'm jumping into. One of the larger issues you face, you know, when you're coming from the bottom up is obviously everything you buy is better than the previous car you own. So certainly that just makes more sense. Like, it's like, oh, it's a great car. It's my favorite car. Yeah, but like when you're me and you've had every fucking car on the block and you own everything you've ever wanted to own and you have the 918, the Courier GTs and all the things that most people usually spend, you know, 2 decades like getting to in order, and I have it all at once, it's hard to like now at this stage appreciate a car for just what it is without factoring in what it's supposed to be and what it does in context to like everything else out there to buy, because you already own everything else, the money. So one of the reasons these reviews make more sense for some people is because, again, very few people have the ability or autonomy to own everything while reviewing something. They usually like get one car at a time, or they don't really spend time with it. I've now lived with this car 2 times, and I can tell you it's definitely a great car, and I think it's definitely got a lot of opportunity in value currently, but I don't know that it's a great car for the long term or that it's going to have any significant appreciation for what it is. But I will tell you, based on where the market's going all around, it's a lot of car for the money currently, and I think it's going to remain a lot of car generally because of how expensive things have gotten. Well, that's my view. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me what you think of the spec. I try to find something incredibly unique, incredibly exciting that will go up. Love to know your thoughts on if you think this PTS NATO Olive is just as good or I could have done better. I'll catch you guys next time for Exotic Car Hacks.